Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure what I'm going to call this segment. I'm not sure if it'll be a regular thing, but I was feeling really compelled to just kind of talk about something that's been really pressing on my mind and on just kind of something that's been coming up a lot recently, just in my personal life with myself and some friends of mine, and it all revolves around a topic that is so hit and miss, and it's the topic of dating. I'm not gonna lie, I had completely different content planned to upload, but just as the day progressed, I'd just been really feeling burdened to talk about this. It's not, the aspect I'm coming from is not something that a lot of people talk about. A lot of times you hear all the good, and not so much the honest stuff. A lot of times you don't hear what happens behind closed doors. And I've been feeling, just with events that are happening in my life, feeling really compelled to talk about some of the stuff that happened behind closed doors in my own life. And some things I'm noticing in others as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. I want to start and I want to preface by saying that no matter what I say, my intention is not to shame, degrade, or harm anyone. This is all my opinion based off of experiences that I myself have had, as well as close friends of mine have had. Every story I tell in this video, it's true. It's not fiction. It has happened, whether to me or to people close to me. And I guess at the end of this, I just want this to really just be a safe place to talk about hard things. Like, yes, it's fun and good to dress up and put on makeup and be a girly girl or this or that or the other, but sometimes we need to sit down and we need to really face the real stuff and talk about the real stuff. So I will warn you now, this video is not all sunshine and roses, and it's going to be me being very real and very raw. So please be aware of that. This is not something I'm doing for likes or views. This is just something that I feel very impressed upon my heart to talk about. A little bit about me. Last October 11th, I met a boy. I met a man. And he is a fantastic human. Still one of the greatest people I know. And October 11th, 2018, yeah, 2018, we hung out for the first time, and after that we started dating, and we dated up until the end of July, beginning of August, when I said that we needed to end things. That's the very, 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 very brief history of my relationship with this person. It was a roller coaster ride. There were so many good moments and a couple of not so good moments. Pardon me, I'm using cough candy because cold and flu season. Anyway, there were good and there were bad moments, and there are moments that I wish I could go back and change, and there are moments where I was like, no, like that was so good for the both of us, and we learned so much and we grew so much. But when it ended, there were a lot of things about myself that I hadn't realized or wasn't willing to realize or acknowledge. And a lot of things that I was doing even in the relationship, that I didn't recognize I was doing. And I started down a downward spiral, not in a way that most people would have assumed. I did not spend every day in my room crying and whining and complaining. In the very beginning, the first couple weeks of the breakup, I did spend a lot of time just kind of feeling really guilty and feeling really upset. But I felt upset because I felt like I had broken his heart. And I can't speak for him and I can't speak for his emotions, but I'd felt so terrible because I had felt like I had wasted his time and I had broken his heart, and here he was having to put himself together. And that's not who I am. Like, I respect people far too much to want to hurt them. That's just who I am as a human being. And so, first couple weeks, he can even attest to this. First couple weeks, I said a lot of I'm sorries, and there was a lot of I miss yous and a lot of I love yous between the two of us still, which I don't necessarily regret, but looking back, I can see how that's unhealthy. There was still a significant amount of attachment, and we allowed that to continue. So I will admit that that was unhealthy, and I instigated and encouraged, and that was wrong on my part. My downward spiral looked like attention seeking from the wrong kinds of people. And I won't get into details because that's far too personal for me to just exploit all over the internet, and I don't want to get other people involved, like the other people involved, implicated by any means. Not that we did anything wrong, but what it comes down to is it comes down to respecting the other parties, and respecting myself enough to know when to filter. But basically, I started making new friends in all the wrong places, and I started practically begging for their attention, but all the wrong kinds of attention. And my standards, my personal standards for my own life, went from like top shelf, like treating myself so well, like treating myself like I treat my friends, like treating myself so good, to being willing to do whatever it took to get the attention that I wanted from the people that I didn't need it from. And my relationship ended at the end of July, and this continued all the way through until probably about midway into September. And maybe like the beginning of September, I had kind of been talking to a friend of mine who had suggested that it's okay to have standards. And that seemed like a new concept to me. I was like, whoa, 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 I'm allowed to say no? I'm allowed to have standards? I'm allowed to treat myself right? Which I know sounds ridiculous, but it is what it is. Then about midway through September, someone who is now a really good friend of mine, we ended up talking, and they ended up basically saying, without saying, that I was a good person. And they told me that I have so much to give, and they reminded me that I don't have to lower my standards, and I don't have to give all the good that I'm giving to the wrong kind of people. And they've just since been, like, we've been talking every day, and each day they've been pushing me to grow and to be better. And if you're watching, you know exactly who you are, and words cannot describe how much I appreciate the time and energy you took from your own life and your own situations to sit there and, oh my gosh, I don't want to cry, and encourage me. Because I was so alone. I felt so alone because all of the people I wanted to talk to about it, I already knew what they were going to say, and you were the only person with different answers. Because I didn't want to hear about all of the signs I missed and I didn't want to hear, but how everything would be okay. And I knew that's what all my other friends were going to tell me. But then you stepped in and you said things like, hold on, someone with your character shouldn't be lowering your standards this much. And you said things like, it's ridiculous how good of a person you are. And things like that drastically changed my mindset. So it's been a crazy 2 months. So anyways, talking daily with this friend, they started really encouraging me to not fix myself, but they reminded me that I was worth something. They reminded me that it was okay to have standards, and they've encouraged me to grow myself and to strengthen myself and to be a better version of me. Be the me that I was before I lost myself. So past 2 months, I've been really struggling not giving the wrong people the wrong kind of attention. And I've been very intentional in how I'm phrasing things. Sorry, one sec, that's my phone. I've been really intentional on how I'm phrasing things with people because I don't ever want to make them feel like they're in the wrong, because they're not. Realistically, they are doing what is natural to them. They are chasing their most natural desires, and that is totally up to them. They are free to do whatever they want. What it's come down to me realizing that I am worth so much more than what I'm selling myself for. And I know that makes me sound like I'm doing some sketchy stuff. Really, I'm not. I promise I'm not doing anything sketchy. I was basically selling my attention to people for dirt cheap. Pennies on the dollar. Like, I was selling myself out, is really what I was doing. And so, this person and I had been talking back and forth, and they'd been really encouraging me to almost clear out my phone. I haven't done that yet, but I've been thinking about it. And just kind of reminding me that, like, it's okay to hold out. It's okay to tell people no. And it's okay to emphasize your worth to others. And so that's been a journey that I've been on since breaking up with my ex. Now here's where I'm going to get a little bit controversial. And again, I'm coming at this from a place of love and support. I'm not coming at this from a place of judgment. I'm not coming at this from a place of like trying to stir a pot that doesn't need to be stirred at all. I just want to get this out there, get this message across, and hopefully it means enough to someone somewhere that it helps them get out of that dark place, and helps people move on. But what I feel like people don't talk about when it comes to dating is they don't talk about what happens behind closed doors, and they don't talk about what happens after a breakup. And just this month alone, two of my really close friends have texted me saying I'm breaking up with my significant other because they still aren't over their ex. And that's really hard for me to accept. Not because like they're breaking up with their significant other at all. Like I get that 100%. Not because their things aren't working out, but simply the fact that these people were in relationships with their significant other for 2 months. And 2 months in, their significant other said, hey, I'm still not over my ex. I get it. Sometimes it takes a while to realize that, and sometimes it takes time. I knew, for me, what it came down to was like I was self-aware enough to know I was I was self-aware enough to know when I was ready to give up my ex. And I was even more self-aware enough to know when I was ready to pursue relationships again. So right now I'm single. Just for the record, I'm not dating anybody, but that doesn't mean I'm not open to it. I'm open to a relationship. And I'm aware that I come with baggage. My baggage is not based off of my last relationship. My baggage is very personal, and it's really personal, and I'm not going to get into that. But like, I do come with some baggage, as everyone will come with baggage, like whether it's family or friends or insecurities or anxiety, like everyone will come with baggage. That's a natural thing for people to come with because we all go through situations that break us. And we have a choice in those moments to rise up out of the ashes like a phoenix or just get swallowed by the flame. And so, all that being said, I knew that I was ready to open myself up to relationships again the moment I was ready to support my ex if he ended up in another relationship. And you're like, that sounds kind of crazy. Hear me out. The first month or so that we had broken up, if he had called me and said, hey, I found a new relationship and like I found this girl and like I think she's amazing, I would have lost my marbles more than I already had. Because I still very deeply felt for this person and I still very much wanted them to be a part of my life. And I had this crazy hope that if I waited long enough, they would come back to me and say, oh, you know, you were right about XYZ, let's fix things. I can't remember if it was the beginning of September. It might have been the beginning of October. I just hit a moment where it no longer mattered to me if they were dating someone or not. I wasn't going to care. Like, I was going to support them and I was going to be thrilled for them because that is a huge thing, like, so exciting. Like, congratulations. I'm so happy you're finding love. I'm so happy you're finding happiness. But it wasn't going to affect me the same way. And that's the moment I knew, like, if I get into a relationship, he's not coming with me. Because that was one of the biggest things I was concerned about. And I said that to a couple people, a couple guys I'd been talking to at the time, as I had said, at the moment, I'm not sure what I'm looking for because I know my ex is still, like, around the corner. And I made the stupid decision of not deleting any of my dating apps, so I was still getting, like, regular, like, chats. So I had to be like, hey, like, maybe wait a few months. I'm just fresh off a breakup. Point is, I knew when I was ready, the moment I knew I was ready to give him up. It's like, it's hard to explain, like it's hard to put into words, but there's a moment you have with yourself where you realize that as much as you say, oh, I wish you happiness, there's a moment where you actually mean it. And you actually want them to find someone else. I said the other night to the same friend I'd been talking to earlier this week, I said, you know what? Everybody else can have my ex. They can have him. Like, great guy, fantastic guy. They can have him. I don't want him back. Not because he was a bad person, but because he and I just didn't fit well in that capacity. Would I call him tomorrow and be like super best friendsy with him? Absolutely. I would call him right now if it was healthy. But right now it's not. Right now I'm not in a good place to communicate with him. And that is my personal choice because I need to move on. And I can't move on if I feel like every time I go on a date or every time I talk to a boy, I have to run it by him first. Because then that means he's still way too involved in my life to allow me to move on and do what's right by me. And so I said to my friend, my really good friend the other night, I was just like, yeah, no, like, I don't want my ex back. Not because he's a bad guy, but like, I just don't want that anymore. Like, all the other girls can have him. Like, he's a great guy. I'm sure I'll find someone. Like, they can have him. I don't want him back. I don't understand the concept of wanting him back. Like, that doesn't make sense to me anymore. Um, which at one point I did. I did want him back, and I understand how I could have at the time because he was familiar and he knew me, and it was no work. It was just everything was already known. Well, all of that is kind of background and just kind of my personal story. I want to get into the story of a friend I have. And this friend is named Chris. He did say that I could share his name. I will not share the name of the other party involved, simply out of respect for them, and I will not share last names at all because I don't want anyone to be attacked or harassed by this. I did ask permission to share this story, but anyway, a little while ago, he and I were on a phone call. We were just talking, and he was expressing concern over his relationship because for the first month and a half, his partner was so open and loving, and everything was reciprocated, and everything was great and fine and dandy. And then over the past couple of weeks, she had been really distant and really cold, and he was super concerned. And so I asked a couple questions, and like we talked about it, and I just encouraged him, and I just said, like, you mentioned that she struggles a little bit with stress and anxiety. Maybe it's just one of those things, like just give it a little bit of time. And we noticed over the weeks that as it went on, it wasn't just like an anxiety and a stress thing, that it was something more. She started shutting down further. She stopped opening up as much, and she wasn't willing to communicate what she was really feeling. And that's really, I understand that, but that's a really difficult place to be. Because for me, the past 4.5 months, I was completely unwilling to communicate anything that I was feeling at all. Like, I wasn't talking to friends, I wasn't talking to family, and I was really isolated. And I didn't realize how isolated I was until I started communicating with people and started remembering how not alone I was. Anyway, so I just kind of said to him, I'm like, maybe you need to sit down and have a conversation about what's lying a little deeper. And he agreed, and they did have a sit-down conversation, and it took a while, but eventually she said, I'm not over my ex. Sometimes I still think about being with him. That phrase absolutely destroys me. I hate it. Not because I don't understand it, because I do, but where I get frustrated is with people who think that just because their relationship is over, it's okay to move on and start dating again. And people that don't necessarily realize that you need to take time to heal. I did some stupid things when I broke up, but I knew enough to know that I wasn't in a good place for a solid relationship, so I knew I needed to take time to heal. Now, that doesn't mean I was actually healing in the time I took. I haven't started healing, and I didn't start healing until a couple months ago, but I knew enough to know not to date. But I knew enough to give myself time. And I thought, you know what, this is just an anomaly, like, not everyone's going through this, so I'm not going to say anything about it beyond just conversation I'm having with Chris. Last night, I get a text message from another close friend of mine in a completely different city, has never met Chris, has never heard of Chris, like, they do not know who Chris is. They do not know his story, they do not know anything. And this particular friend ended up saying to me basically the same thing. My current girlfriend has just told me that she wants to be with her ex. My heart just broke. I felt absolutely dreadful for this person. Like, it's so devastating to hear that, and it just give you a good idea of the mental process that that person now goes through. It's what makes them so good, what makes me so bad. Things like, how can I be better for you? Like, what about me isn't good enough? How can I improve for you? Because, like, you want to do everything for your partner, and you want to make them, you don't want to make them love you, but you want them to feel loved around you and to care for you. Like, that, you want this level of reciprocity that you don't get with anybody else, right? And it's a special, elevated intimacy with these people. And hear someone say, in as many words, I want someone who I left or who left me, is devastating, because it becomes, what about them is not like me? I guess basically what I want to talk about is being self-aware and the dangers of dating before you're ready. Because if you recently break up with someone, and they're still that much a part of your life that you think about them when you're being intimate with someone else, whether it's physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy. There's so many types of intimacy, but if you are opening up to someone in a very intimate way when you're still thinking about your ex, I think you need to reevaluate if you're ready to date. Because not only risks your own health when you date before you're ready, but you're now playing with another person's feelings, and you're now playing with another person's future. And think of it like a domino effect. If you aren't ready and you're broken and you go to someone who already is fixed, like they've gotten over their ex, they're ready for a new relationship, or someone who has never been in a relationship and you're bringing all of your ex baggage into that relationship, you're now going to break this person with the weight of what you're carrying. And when you do that, they're going to turn around and affect someone else, right? So I guess what it comes down to is just kind of knowing yourself enough. No, you know what? My ex is still on my mind. My ex is still in my heart. Maybe I need to like pause, reevaluate, and try this again a little bit later. I know that makes it sound so much easier than what it is, because it actually means sitting down and talking with yourself and facing your fears and facing your anxieties and facing your feelings. But it's so important to actually do it. I am currently watching two of my closest friends struggle so hard with heartbreak because their now ex couldn't get over their last relationship and weren't ready to date. And like, these are people who I value very much, and it hurts me so deeply to see people I care about so much struggling and suffering, because it's not just, oh, my heart hurts. It's like, no, like, this is actually suffering. This is mental trauma. This is physical trauma. This is like devastating for them. And as their friend, I sit there and my heart breaks as I watch this unfold. And I can't do anything about it except for sit and listen and be there and support and offer wisdom when they ask. And I just want to open the doors and start talking about this. Like, please consider how your choices are going to affect your partner when it comes to getting in a relationship. Because I think if we stepped back and we thought twice, acted once, there would be maybe not more relationships, maybe not stronger relationships, but there would definitely be healthier relationships. And I just, coming from a place of concern for the people in my life, I wouldn't want to see the people I care about struggling. And to be honest, as their friend, if either of my two friends, Chris or my other friend, came to me and said, oh, I think I'm ready to date again, I would like interrogate the crap out of them and make sure that they're actually ready. And I would tell them if I didn't think they were ready. Even if it's maybe not my place to say whether they're ready or not, if I had a concern, I 100% would bring it up to them because I don't want them to hurt someone else the way they were hurt. And so I think it's time we start having an open dialogue about some of the things that happened behind closed doors during, like, with dating. Um, and so please, like, comment down below, share your stories. Like, was there ever a situation where you were hung up on your ex? Was there ever a situation where you were with someone who was hung up on their ex? Please, like, let's start talking. Let's make this a conversation. Let's keep this dialogue going, and let's open the door for people to feel loved and supported and cared for and taken care of. And let's bring awareness to something that people don't actually talk about. Maybe sometime next week, I will post a follow-up video and talk a little bit about some red flags to watch out for, or just some signs that maybe you yourself aren't ready. But I know for now, this is kind of the note that I want to leave the conversation on. And I want it to be just that. I want it to be a conversation. I want it to be a dialogue. So please, like, let's talk about this. Like, share your stories, share your comments. Let's open the door for a new type of conversation about dating that doesn't involve the frill. Let's peel back those curtains. Let's take a look at the heart of the problem, and let's try and help it a little bit. Maybe not fix it because we're not experts, but, well, I'm no expert. I don't know if there's a dating expert out there watching this, but I'm not an expert. And let's just kind of start a dialogue about this and get healthy information out there. And let's kind of just grow this conversation and encourage more dialogue. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say on this topic for now. I'm sorry this is so heavy and so personal and just so raw. I honestly, I'll be really real, I intended to do a makeup tutorial as my next posting. And I do have it filmed, and I am in the process of editing it. As I was editing, it just kept coming back to me that this was something I needed to do. And so I figured I ignored my gut multiple times when it came to my relationship, when it came to friendships, when it came to things that I did this week. I figured for once I would listen to my gut and see where it got me. But yeah, please comment down below anything you have to say on this topic. Let's make this a place of positivity and encouragement, and let's make this a safe space. I don't want to see anything super negative or aggressive or attacking. Let's just make this a safe place to start dialogue. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.